Yes, sir. Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to another video. In today's video, first we have quite a few announcements, guys. It is currently 7 o'clock in the morning here. It was actually 6, but it's 7 now. And this is the only time I'm going to have today to record this video. So here we are. For those who don't know, yesterday I officially started moving into my apartment. Over the course of the entire weekend, I will continue to do that. Most of the stuff in my current apartment is gone. It's at the new place. The new place is amazing. I love it. And I'm really happy to be moving there. The studio has not been fully built out yet. So I don't know where I'm going to record the new place. But you can say goodbye to this plain background, and you can say goodbye to this apartment that I'm been living in because I'm moving. So there's that. If you don't get a video from me this weekend, it'll be because I've been focused on moving. You know, there's a lot of crap I got to do. You know, moving in with my girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. Got to build stuff, got to mount TVs. You know, we got a lot of stuff we got to do up in here. But let me go ahead and get to the subject. I want to talk about student loans, so let's go ahead and get right into it. I want to give my thoughts, right? So first, for those who don't know, I guess the cat's out the bag. I guess most of you guys kind of know already, so I'll just go ahead and say it. I am a Democrat, okay? I voted Democrat all my life. I used to work for the Democratic Party. Most of you guys know I used to work in politics. I am not one of those crazy leftists. You do not have to worry about that. I would consider myself more of a moderate. I'm kind of one of those silent majority guys who just, I'm kind of down the middle. There's some things that Republicans say that I sometimes agree with. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a Democrat for a reason. I mostly align with the Democratic Party than a Republican, and that just is what it is. But anyway, I want to give my thoughts on the student loan thing. So let's just talk about that. Even though the student loan thing helps me because I actually only owe like $23,000 in student loans now. So that means that with Biden's plan and because I got Pell Grants, I would essentially be debt free because the only debt that I really have at this point is of student loans. So even though the plan helps me, I still have some critiques on it. And the reason why is because one thing that I could criticize my party on, which is the Democratic Party, I guess every party kind of has this, but one thing we need to do better as human beings is we got to think about more people than just ourselves, right? So I could easily say, oh yeah, student loan forgiveness is great because it helps me. Screw everybody else. I don't care if you're getting screwed or you got to pay for it. It just helps me. We have too many people who think like that, and that's the problem. So for me putting myself in other people's shoes, I could definitely see why people will be upset by this. I completely do. Because let me tell you guys something. The maximum threshold in terms of income that you can make in order to qualify for this forgiveness is $125,000. Go look it up. To me, that's insane. If you make $125,000 and you can't pay off a $10,000 student loan or a $20,000 student loan, which is a very small portion of your annual income, that's on you. That's not the debt's too high, the interest is too high, life's unfair. It's on you as a person. That's pretty sad, to be honest. That's pretty pathetic. And so I thought Biden's income thresholds were way too high. I thought it should have been lower. I thought it should have been maybe for people making like maybe 75,000 or lower. I think 125,000, which is almost 250,000 per household. That's just ridiculous. If you make $250,000 in your household, you should not qualify for any student loan forgiveness. I'm sorry. Taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for somebody who can easily pay off their student loans if they just had some sort of financial literacy or financial responsibility. And I think that's the ultimate problem. And I think I understand why a lot of people are upset, right? Because on one hand, you got people who are like, well, what about me? I did the right thing. I worked my butt off. I got me a second job, or I figured out a way to raise my income, and I paid off my student loans on my own. So what do I get? Do I just get screwed? Like, you're out here forgiving student loans for people who aren't as responsible as me, and here I am. I worked my freaking butt off to pay off my loans. That's unfair, and I agree. I think a lot of the reason why a lot of people are affected so negatively by student loan debt is because of bad financial literacy. That's the honest truth. I really do. I think a lot of Americans are really bad with money. I think most Americans live way too high above their means. Like, they live way above their means. And we can see this right now. I mean, like I said, you making $125,000 a year and you want student debt relief for a $10,000 loan? That's just outrageous to me. So I understand that argument. The other argument that I understand and why I think Biden kind of messed up. And I get it. It's not completely his fault because you need Congress to do this. But we need to change the entire student debt system. And what worries me is, sure, people like me get relief. I'm essentially going to be debt free after he forgives my loans, which is awesome. Other people who went to school with me are going to be essentially debt free, or they're at least going to have very little debt in student loan debt. So I get it. But what about the people who are seniors right now? So because the student debt system hasn't been fixed, those people are going to be in the same position that we were in. It's not going to be any different. And that's my biggest issue. I wish that there would have been more focus on Biden because, again, he can't do it himself. He doesn't have the authority at all. He needs Congress to do that. I wish that he would have struck some sort of deal with the Republicans in Congress where they could have figured this thing out, where they could have completely reformed the student loan system, because that's really what needs to be done. Let's think of some serious issues with student loan debt. And I would argue that these problems are worse than the debt that a lot of people hold, right? So let me explain. One, you cannot do student loan debt is one of the only debts that you cannot get rid of, even if you file for bankruptcy. There's virtually zero way of getting rid of it. You literally can't do anything to get rid of your student loan debt. That's scary because that means that when a lender gives a student loan to somebody, they're not taking on any risk. That's the problem. That's why it's so easy for 18-year-olds to get all these loans, because there's no risk. No matter what happens, you're never going to get out of paying this loan back. You can't even file for bankruptcy and get out of paying this loan. So what risk do these lenders have? Which the federal government, right? What risk do these people have if there's nothing you can do to get out of paying the debt? That's the problem. They should have fixed the bankruptcy thing. You should be able to get out of your student loan debt if you file for bankruptcy, just like you could get out of many other debts if you file for bankruptcy. Now, obviously, bankruptcy is not an easy process. I don't want people to think, oh, anybody can just file for bankruptcy. No, it actually doesn't work like that. Half the population can't just file for bankruptcy. It's not that easy, actually. It really isn't. So I think that's one solution that I wish would have been done. I think the other solution would have been to figure out some way to get rid of interest. And I know Biden did something regarding that. Let me actually read it. It says right here, Biden's plan comes with a separate proposal that aims to lower federal student debt payments in the future. The proposed regulation will create a new repayment plan with monthly payments capped at no more than 5% of a borrower's discretionary income, down from 10% in similar existing plans. Okay, so it's capped, but does that fix the interest? I think that's my main question here. Now, let me talk about something else, right? And this one is going to sting a little bit, okay? This one's going to sting. But I know most of you guys who were watching my videos, you guys are in the finance community. So you won't take offense to this as much as the average American will. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it, okay? Normally, when you give that kind of relief to people, they normally abuse it. And normally, the problem doesn't get fixed. And I'm going to tell you why. Normally, when somebody's in a situation where they got a bunch of debt and they can't pay it off, it's normally their fault. And I'm going to tell you why. It's mostly they're not focusing enough on increasing their income. They're lazy, or they just downright don't live below their means. Is typically what I see. I'll even apply this to my own life, right? There are tons of people that I know that have a lot of debt, and they just let it build up and build up and build up. And I tell them the exact same thing every time when they come to me for help. Like, how do I pay off my debts? How do I do this? How do I do that? Blah, blah, blah. Like, sometimes people come to me for that. And I say, okay, how much do you make? Okay, you need to downsize. You need to get rid of that Audi you're driving or that Mercedes or whatever. And you would be surprised, guys. There are a lot of middle-class people that have nice cars. I don't know why they do that. I don't know what in God's name makes them think they have enough money to afford these cars, but they do it. Bunch of middle-class people who are driving Teslas and stuff. So that's one problem. But the bottom line that I'm trying to say here is most Americans, when you give them handouts, and again, we can use the PPP loan, right? The PPP loan, you guys know I live in Chicago, home of the scammers. A lot of people fraudulently took out those PPP loans, right? And when they took out those PPP loans, most people got anywhere between $12,000 to $20,000. That's pretty decent for somebody working at Popeyes or freaking, whatever, or doesn't have a job or whatever these people do. Most of these people who did that either didn't have a job or they were working jobs that didn't make much money. When they got that money, right? What do you think happened to that money? They spent it. Did they do anything wise with that money? Because I can tell you right now. Now, you guys know I'm not a criminal. I would never in life steal money from the government or fraudulently take out a PPP loan. But hypothetically, if I did, because remember, the PPP loans went out in 2020 and 2021. If I got that money, the first thing I would do is pay off my debts. That's what I would do. But a lot of people don't think like that. So what did these people do? They went to the Louis Vuitton store. They went to the Burberry store. They went to the Gucci store. A lot of folks were taking vacations. You see how I'm going with this? When people get large sums of money, typically they do dumb things. They don't do wise things like pay off their debts. And that's the problem, right? The problem is a lot of people who got their loans forgiven probably don't deserve it. And to be honest with you, I don't think student loan debt, because remember, student loan forgiveness, the reason why Biden's doing it is because its goal is to help many Americans. But I would argue that most Americans you can't help. You cannot help them by forgiving their loans or forgiving their debts because most Americans are just stupid. They make terrible financial decisions, okay? So now that you've forgiven these people's loans, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think many of these people's financial situations is going to change? If you want my honest opinion, I don't think so. I think most people are still going to be in the same position or even worse because you can't fix stupid. Sure, you can forgive somebody's student loan debts, but I bet you most of these people probably have crazy credit card debt or some other debt or whatever because people just make really bad decisions. And again, I'm not against student loan forgiveness necessarily. I understand why people are upset about it. And I just wish that Biden would have done something better. Because again, forgiving everybody's student loan debts, in my opinion, isn't going to solve the problem. Most people are still going to be in a bad financial situation. Even though you've forgiven their debt, right? Like I can tell you right now, for me, him forgiving my debt has helped me for sure. And it's going to allow me to be debt free and remain debt free. But I'm also financially literate. I make smart financial decisions. Most people don't. So that extra $10, $15, $20,000 that they were going to have to put over to paying their debt, guess what do you think they're going to do with that extra money that they might have now? That they don't have to spend towards their student loan debts. Now, the Biden administration would argue, oh, they're probably going to, put that towards their bills or whatever, use that money to help them get by. But I would argue they wouldn't. I think most people really do dumb things. I think most people are going to use that money and make bad decisions with it. And they're going to end up in the same position they were already in. And I know that's controversial. I know some people don't like it. I think most of you guys who follow me on YouTube will be fine because I think you guys, we kind of agree there. But I know the average person wouldn't agree, even though I think it's true. And so that's my main issue with the student loan forgiveness thing. I think, obviously, we know it's inflationary. Obviously, we know it is probably going to cause a lot of colleges to raise their tuitions even more. It's just how it works. And yeah, that is really bad. But I think the worst thing about it is, even though it gives temporary relief to a lot of Americans, I think the problem is a lot of Americans are just so bad with money that I just think that they're going to end up getting in another situation later on down the line. Like it's not going to change. If you're bad with money, you're bad with money. You can't just forgive people's loans and save them. People just make dumb decisions. And I think that's my biggest worry with this. So for me, I think Biden should have changed the entire system more so than forgave people's loans. And this is coming from somebody who's literally getting his loans forgiven. And I'm not complaining about it. I mean, it's cool. But at the end of the day, if I was forced to pay off my loans, I would have been fine with doing it. As a matter of fact, I have been paying off my loans. I originally owed like $30,000, actually more than that, maybe like $32,000. And once I got a better job in 2021, I actually started to slowly pay off my loans. And now, because I've been able to slowly pay off my loans every month, my balance is like $23,000 now. So I have been paying my loans. Once I got a better job where I could actually pay it, I started, paying off my loans. And I have no problem with paying off my loans. I really don't. I think it's my debt. Even though I went to college and got a piece of crap degree, it is what it is. You make mistakes, you live and you learn from it. And I just don't think a lot of people think the way that I do, right? I just don't think a lot of people are going to do the right thing with the money that they've been forgiven. I think a lot of people are just going to end up in the same situation or worse. And I think that's the biggest problem. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Those are my thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you don't get a video this weekend, it's because I'm moving. New studio coming soon. Be ready. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.